everyone. My name is Marley Long, and I'll go ahead and get things kicked off. I also have our technical director joining me on today's webinar, Sigalit Hasid. Today's webinar is going to focus around connecting enterprise SharePoint Analytics with Microsoft's new Power BI feature. And the purpose of this webinar is really to give you an introduction to how you can begin using Power BI to create reports and monitor your SharePoint in a new and exciting way. And whether you're a large enterprise, a government institution, or even a small to medium-sized business, it's really our goal that you'll walk away from this webinar with basic knowledge of which metrics you can create with the help of Power BI to immediately start making actionable changes to improve your portal and increase engagement levels. And I just want to make sure people are hearing me. I see a chat that says sound just went dead, so just send a quick chat if you can hear me, because I did just get a chat that sound went dead. But we'll move on from here. Okay, seems like everyone's good. Okay, great. Okay, a bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded. If you want to share this with a colleague in the next few days, we'll go ahead and send an email to everyone who signs up for the recording as well. You can connect with us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @Cardiolog, and we are tweeting during this webinar, so if you have any questions for us, you can also send them to us through Twitter. And of course, if you have any questions, we'll leave about 10 minutes towards the end of the webinar for questions. And you can send your questions through the question box within the GoToWebinar panel. So you can send questions throughout the entire webinar, and we'll try to get to them at the end. For some reason, my PowerPoint is moving a bit slow today. Okay. In regards for today's webinar agenda, I'll start out with a very short introduction. I'll talk a bit about INSOC and who we are, and then we'll go ahead and dive into today's topic of SharePoint Analytics with Power BI. Following the introduction of the topic, I'll go into a live demonstration so you can see in real time how to create reports in Power BI with Cardiolog data so that you can continue to monitor and improve SharePoint. And as I mentioned, we will have some time towards the end, so if you would like to enter your questions, we will be happy to answer them. And if we don't get to them during the webinar today, we will be happy to be in touch with you through email, and we will try to answer every question that's sent to us. Right. Brief introduction. INSOC has been around for about 10 years now, since 2005, and we're based out of Boston. And over the past 10 years, we've focused on web analytics designed for SharePoint. And our flagship solution is Cardiolog Analytics, and it's built specifically for internal platforms, including all versions of SharePoint from 03 to 2013, as well as SharePoint Online and Office 365. And we can also track third-party tools like Yammer, Citrion, CRM tools, and the like. Our goal is to help our customers constantly improve SharePoint based on how it's being used. So there are three main pillars that we talk to our customers about. The first one is Monitor, which is tracking the usage within SharePoint. The second is engaging users, asking them what their needs are, what their pain points are, and what's not working for them. And finally, the most important pillar is to enhance. And we want to make sure that we're constantly improving SharePoint based on these three pillars. So the idea is to have actionable metrics, which will allow us to constantly make SharePoint better for our users. And with that, we'll just go ahead and jump right in. So first of all, I want to talk about why why SharePoint Analytics in general? Why do we even need analytics when talking about SharePoint? And the key here is that you can only manage what you measure. So we can only know what's going on in SharePoint and define if a SharePoint launch was successful. We can only measure if people are using it, and if adoption is increasing is by being able to measure what's going on. And that's really the end goal that we help our customers with. So how can you measure SharePoint, measure the deployment, analyze it, and then help customers improve their environments based on what's actually going on? And again, making an investment in an intranet includes a large amount of resources in the form of budgets for licenses and consultants, as well as human resources that involve multiple teams, admins, developers, stakeholders, as well as the migration of key business assets. So by leveraging analytics, you can find out whether your portal is performing as expected and whether it is truly providing value to your organization. And as you can see here, this is a screenshot of the Cardiolog Analytics new user interface that will be released in the coming months. And this just gives you an idea of what our analytics interface looks like. And this will be available to anyone using the Cardiolog tool. However, for the purpose of the webinar today, I will be taking all the data that's collected using the Cardiolog tool and using it in Microsoft Power BI's interface. And I'll get into why we have promoted this integration and why using the Power BI interface can be of use for analytics end users in just a few slides. But just to be clear, both the Cardiolog Analytics interface as well as the Power BI interface can be used to analyze data and create reports. It's just really a matter of what's easiest for the end user and what they're most comfortable with. And I want to highlight a bit more about analytics. So analytics have the ability to give SharePoint stakeholders some amazing insights into the portal's internal activity. But oftentimes, it's really not obvious which metrics are most critical. So the wealth of information that SharePoint Analytics can provide can be overwhelming at times. So don't let data overload prevent you from using analytics to improve your portal. There are a handful of metrics that you can begin using immediately to analyze and enhance your portal. And I'll go over a few of these metrics today in the Power BI demonstration. And if you're new to this topic, I would like to invite you to download our recently released ebook called An Introduction to Intranet Analytics. We will be tweeting the link to this ebook during the webinar, so feel free to go ahead and download it. It's a great resource for getting started and giving you the most important metrics that you can begin using immediately. And again, you can download the ebook from, we will be tweeting it, as well as when you visit our website, it will be on our homepage as well. So many of our customers were able to use analytics in a variety of ways, just to give you an idea. So in terms of improving portal UI, they were able to engage with enterprise users, thus increasing portal productivity. By collecting insights from portal users, they were able to drive collaboration further. Analytics can also be used to identify user challenges. So our customers facilitated innovative survey discussions, and based on the insights they collected from the survey discussions, they empowered and improved user innovation. In terms of enhancing portal usability, they were able to identify videos viewed for 20 seconds or less with specialized video reports that Cardiolog offers. And then they identified and replaced ineffective video content. And similarly, they were able to identify unviewed announcements or updates, and then they were able to inform site owners how to most effectively position content for increased viewing. In terms of increasing corporate productivity, they were able to identify failed search queries, thus saving employee time by refining failed searches. And they also identified how many users were accessing the portal less than 5 times per week. So they could really easily see which employees were in need of training and in need of kind of more outreach. And lastly, they were able to engage with portal users and collect feedback, and they identified end user product challenges and then worked to resolve these end user difficulties. So really, analytics can be used in a multitude of different ways. So quickly, I'll just go over what is Power BI in case you don't already know. Power BI is a cloud-based business analytics service enabling anyone to visualize and analyze data with great speed, efficiency, and understanding. So for SharePoint administrators and decision makers, this can give you a 360 view of your portal all in one dashboard. And there are really a lot of nice features included in BI, such as setting up mobile alerts when your data changes, and just like in the Cardiolog interface, you can also share your dashboards at ease with coworkers through the platform. In fact, I just want to point out that our solution Cardiolog Analytics provides more features than are offered in Power BI, but Power BI provides a more common user interface that may be more comfortable for users. So the real point to take away from Power BI is that it really allows users to create impactful, shareable reports, and there are really a number of very nice visualizations as well. And here, I just wanted to share with you a nice visual that Microsoft Power BI provided. So here you have step 1, to get your data, and then you have step 2, craft data stories, so creating reports and then allocating them to dashboards, and then finally you have step 3, which is to collect and share the data. And the beauty of BI is that you can have as many data groups stored in BI as you would like. So for instance, you may have your SharePoint data in Power BI, like what I will show you today, but you may have many other data sets in Power BI. So you may have your sales data set or any other kind of data sets that you may have, and then you can really have all of your data in one place, in one central place. So this is really one of the main points about Power BI, is having kind of a central place to store all of your data. So the question you may have asked yourself when you saw this webinar was, why use Power BI with SharePoint Analytics? How can it help me? How is using Power BI any different than creating dashboards and analytics in a kind of advanced user interface? So I'll answer these questions in just a couple of points. So Power BI allows for the empowerment of stakeholders and decision makers in the SharePoint portal. So it's really giving what we would call end users an added level of flexibility for analyzing and distributing knowledge about the portal's past and current status. And the reason that we've decided to integrate with Power BI is for exactly that reason. So we want to make this process as easy as possible so that people can analyze their portals in the most efficient way. And if end users are already comfortable with the Power BI platform because they're using it to create dashboards for, say, other data sets, then there's really no reason that they can't also use it with SharePoint. Enhancing communication efforts between stakeholders and executive level decision makers. So again, users can also easily send reports in the Cardiolog interface, but if they're already using Power BI and are comfortable with the platform, then they can easily create reports on any device and then just quickly send them to management. And enabling stakeholders to easily spot trends in the SharePoint portal. So thanks to really nice visualizations that Power BI provides, stakeholders can get really quick and easy insights regarding major trends in the SharePoint portal. So for example, if you want to know how many total SharePoint users are in the portal, you can easily ask a question and get a quick answer, or create a report for total users that's very simple and easy to do. And I'll show you just an example of that once we get into the demo section. So the second section that I'll talk to you about before we jump into the demo is exactly how end users can go about utilizing Power BI to the best of its ability. So asking questions and getting answers. So Power BI integrated with Cardiolog Analytics allows you to ask which territory has the lowest number of active SharePoint users last month. and then it gives you stunning interactive visualizations as answers. And a really nice feature of Power BI is that business decision makers can ask these questions in sort of what we would call natural language, by literally typing in which territory has the lowest number of active SharePoint users last month, and they'll get the right charts and graphs automatically. So this is something that's really, really useful, and I'll be demoing that as well. Exploring your data in new ways. So visually explore your data through these free-form drag-and-drop canvases, and there's a broad range of modern data visualizations, and it's really an easy-to-use report authoring experience. And you'll also be able to see that pretty immediately once I show you the demo. Discovering opportunities. So this is something that's really easy to do with both Cardiolog interface and Power BI, but I wanted to highlight it. So if you want to target your most productive or engaged SharePoint users, Power BI can help you get the greatest ROI by making really great opportunities easy to discover and act on in a very easy-to-use platform. And lastly, accessing data whenever, wherever, and on the go. So Power BI, again, I think I mentioned it before, but you can use it from any kind of mobile device. You can use it from a tablet as well as accessing it from the desktop computer. All right. So now I'm going to transition into the demo part of the webinar. And again, just wanted to say, if you're just now joining, if you have any questions, either myself or Sigalit will be happy to answer them at the end of our session. So feel free to continue sending questions in. Go ahead and pull up Power BI. Just 1 second. All right. So here we have the Power BI interface. So for our purposes, I'll be showing you the cloud-based version. You can also integrate Power BI with Excel and create visually stunning reports within Excel. But today, I'll just be showing you how to create reports and analyze them on the Power BI cloud. And the services that we offer with Cardiolog Analytics can be broken down into 3 different categories. So we have an on-prem model that's installed on Microsoft Excel. And this is a highly secure option because, in essence, you own the data completely. 2, we have a cloud-based solution, so hosted by Power BI, but and also your data, say it was can be hosted in the cloud as well. So this is sort of what we would call the cloud-based solution. And third, we have the hybrid solution. So this is still secure. However, you won't be the only one essentially handling the data. So for our purposes today, I'm just going to be using some generic demo data. So just keep that in mind while I'm creating reports. Okay. Just make sure everyone can see. Okay. So here we have the Power BI interface. And you can see here, it's just a really quick and easy login. You can enter through Chrome, through Firefox, whichever you like. And it takes you right to the dashboard. And on the left-hand side of the page, you'll see you have a section for dashboards, you have a section for reports here, and you have a section for data sets. And for me, I really like to think of it almost like a 3-step process. Although everyone has their kind of own way of going about this, but I see it as this sort of flow. So 1, you're going to your data set, 2, you're creating your report, and then 3, you're allocating these reports to the specific dashboard that you have created. So now I'm going to go in and we can create a report from scratch. So by doing this, you'll be able to then explore the data and uncover insights, and then add visualizations, and finally save and share your report. So first, I'll start from the dashboard where I want to display the data in the workbook. So in this case, I'll create a blank dashboard. So I'll click here under dashboard. I'll create, add dashboard. So we'll call this webinar Power BI. And here we have our blank dashboard here, so you can see it's blank. And I want to create a report from scratch. So I'll click on the data set name. So here you can see we only have one data set available. And this is our Power Pivot Cardiolog BI. That's what we call it for our purposes. And this comes directly from Cardiolog Analytics. And all of the data is collected through Cardiolog's JavaScript tracking tool, just to be clear so that everyone knows how this is integrated. And it is possible you may have other data sets here, but for the purposes of SharePoint, you'll want to use the data coming from your SharePoint tracking tool. So this is where I'll create my new report. In the middle here is my report canvas, and this is where I will explore my data and create visualizations. Here on the right, let's see, we'll come down here, click on data sets, here we go. This is the report canvas here, and here on the right, this is where I'll explore my data and create visualizations. So here we have fields, and we have filters and visualizations, and they give me options for filtering the entire page as well as individual visualizations. So now let's get to the fun part. We can create visualizations in reports. So let's say you're interested in creating a report on the search activity in your SharePoint portal. So it's really important to know how well your search engine is performing. So analytics can provide you with these answers and more. So search is really one of the most important features in an intranet, as it's often the default behavior of the users. So it's the first thing they do when they enter the portal. So maximizing the effectiveness of your search engine is really critical for enhancing the overall performance of your portal. So in order to create a search report, you'll go to the fields and you'll click on events here. So then you can click on something like failed search, on failed search, and then add another field like search URL. And here I can kind of drag and drop this onto the canvas, as well as clicking like this. So there's kind of two options for it. And you can see exactly what URLs are failing. So then you can go into your portal and optimize your portal so your users can find what they're looking for again. And you can also, like I said, drag and drop the fields onto the canvas, whichever is easiest for you. So you can also add another graph with a dimension of successful searches versus failed searches. So we'll go again, we'll click failed search. And then we'll go down here and we'll click successful search. Another field, and we can kind of move this here. All right. And we can create a horizontal bar graph for that. Great. So you can see that indeed you do have many more successful searches than failed searches. So that's a good sign, critical for your SharePoint portal success. And again, we can go in and select any visualization you would like. So just to give you an idea, I'll kind of scroll through them. Here you can see you have a variety of bar graphs you can choose, different visualizations. Do 810 total failed searches for all our purposes here. And so we'll go ahead and use this horizontal bar graph. And you can go ahead and play with your options a bit as well. So you can then select if you want your data labels on for easier viewing, which is what I'll do now. So I'll go to this paintbrush here, and I will select data labels on. There we go. So now you can easily see here that you have your data labels on. You can see that there were 7.69 thousand total successful searches. So now I'll create a third graph on this report. So say you want to see your searches by operating system. Now a lot of organizations are starting to see their users accessing the portal via their mobile devices and tablets. So here we can add metrics like browsers and operating systems to see if there are different mobile trends. And we can view this in many different ways, and the idea is to find out if we need a mobile strategy. So if we need to create content that will be easily accessible on mobile devices, or are all the users still accessing the portal from the desktop? So I'll go in and select the search field again. I'll click here, I'll click search again, and then I will choose Browser OS. Drag it onto the canvas here. And for this purpose, I really like to use pie chart. And I'll turn my data labels on again for sort of easy viewing. And move this towards the middle. There we go. And you can see that the different operating systems are being used by your users to access SharePoint, and then evaluate if you need to rethink your mobile strategy. So here you can see that there's over 25% of users accessing from something other than Windows. And this just gives you a very kind of at-a-glance look. The visualizations are very nice, and you can easily send these reports to decision makers or management to kind of say, hey, we need to rethink our mobile strategy, or hey, maybe we can put this off for a while. It just depends on what your statistics are going to do. And I need to save this report before I can pin it to my dashboard. So I'll go in and save, and I will name it Power BI Webinar. Save. All right. And then to be able to pin these dashboards to a report, you can click here and you can click Pin Visual. And we will pin it to Webinar Power BI. That was the dashboard I created earlier. Again, do it with other graphs. And last one. Great. And if you just want to make sure that it's working and that your graphs are being pinned to your dashboard that you created, you can go into your dashboard section, and you can see here that they've all been pinned to your appropriate dashboard. So for our purposes, I'm going to go back here to our original report. And I'll go in and I'm going to add a second page to this report, and it's going to be based on SharePoint content. So I'm going to click Edit Report again. So creating compelling content and providing your users with the tools to allow them to easily use the portal and be more productive is what's going to draw your users in and keep them coming back. So your trending content can really act as a catalyst to kind of feed ideas into your future content plan as you spot topics that always trend or result in engagement. So this will help you to identify the departments, groups, and individuals who are able and willing to contribute content. And by analyzing content that is created by users and how they interact with it, it can give enterprise decision makers deep insights into the overall employee experience. So these insights are valuable and effective in helping to understand the needs of employees as well as their strengths and pain points within the SharePoint portal. So a few questions to consider before creating analytics reports on your SharePoint content. What kind of content is most commonly contributed? What departments are contributing, say, the most content? What types of contents are trending within the portal? And what content is getting the most views? So also, what content is getting the least views? So first, we can create a report for page views. So I'll go in here, I'll add a second page to this report. Go in here under Events, and I'll select Page Views. And then the second field I'll select will be, we can do URL. So you can go in and see exactly what URLs are performing well and getting the most or least amount of page views by our users. So I'll quickly kind of put this in a line graph here. And utilizing page views reports to understand which pages in the portal are attracting users can really give you understanding on which content is most popular in the portal. So if you're trying to drive users to a specific site or page, this report allows you to see if they're accessing it or not. So if they're clearly not accessing it, then you may need to develop a new strategy and try to implement it to drive users to this page. So for example, you can create a button on the home page to direct users to a specific page or piece of content is one way of approaching this challenge. So we can also do page views by country. So if you go in and select page views again, so we'll click off this for a second, and we'll select page views again. And then we'll go down here under user geolocations and select country. All right. And you can clearly see which environments in particular countries are generating the most amount of page views. So especially if you're a large enterprise with many SharePoint deployments worldwide, you may be very interested in seeing which countries and which environments are the most active in SharePoint. And for this one, I really like this map visualization. There we go. And you can go in and click on the different countries, and you can see here that the United States had 43,045 page views versus Canada with 8,056. And you can see that when you select specifics for each report, then the other reports also change to reflect the data as well. So that's actually a really nice feature of Power BI. And again, we save this and pin these to the dashboard. We'll pin these to Power BI. And this here. And select our dashboard. Oops. And you can see all of your reports that you just created are now in one dashboard, and you can kind of drag and drop them on the dashboard and kind of go in and look at them more in-depthly if you would like. And you can easily save these as files or share them with your colleagues. So for the final part of the demo, I just want to show you how Power BI has this amazing Ask a Question box, where here, instead of creating new dashboards and new reports, we can simply type in whatever we want to find out. So I'm going to go make my way over to a previous dashboard that I've created. So for example, you can enter in page views by browser. So page views by browser. And this is what I was referring to earlier in the presentation about searching in kind of natural language. Bear with me. Page views by browser. Great. So then right away, in a very ad hoc way, we receive instant metrics showing us what browsers people are using. So if they shouldn't be using Firefox, for example, you can see here Firefox is our third most popular browser that people are using. And so there needs to be some sort of overhead from the organization so that people can know which browser they're supposed to be using. And if you want to see the total number of page views in your portal, you can easily search it here and get a very nice visual as well. So you can type in total page views. So here you can see you have a total of 75,000 page views. And finally, you can do page views by entity type, and you can see which entity types are generating the most amount of page views. So here, page views by entity type. Okay. So here you can see that you can see lists have the most amount of page views with web page as well. And I really like this visualization to give you an at-a-glance view here. I'm going to change it. This is a really nice visualization that I like to create. And you can also hover and click on each entity type, and it will highlight it. And then when you click on it, you can see the number, the total number as well. So total number of list page views was 23,681 versus total number of posts was 1,405. All right, so that's the end of our demo part of the webinar today. So that's just a quick example of some of the metrics that we can provide here. So we have about 10 minutes now toward the end of our time today. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of those questions. And if you didn't have time to send them over, feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar panel now. And just give you a bit of time. Okay, so I'll start out with first question I got from Mark, and he's asking what type of offerings are available in terms of Cardiolog with Power BI. So just to be clear, there are 3 separate offerings that I mentioned before, and if you are concerned about security and your storage of data, then the best model for you would be the on-premises model. So this is something where you will be able to create reports in Microsoft Excel, and this is a highly secure option because you actually own the data. And perhaps we will have a webinar. We had a very high interest in people in this Power BI offering. So we will try to make an effort to have a webinar in the future where we can actually show how you can create reports in Excel as well. That's definitely an option. So that's the on-premises solution. And 2, there is a cloud-based solution. So this is where your data can be hosted in the cloud. So vis-a-vis a SaaS solution. And your data will also be hosted on the Power BI cloud. So this is the second solution, which is the full cloud solution. And third, you can have a hybrid solution. So this is probably what most people will opt for. And this is where you will be able to access your data through Power BI on the cloud, as I showed you here. But you will have your data stored securely in an on-premises solution from your own servers, through your own, and this is assuming that you are using an advanced analytics solution where you are creating and owning your own data. All right. And again, I apologize if I don't get to your question today. We will definitely try to answer everyone's questions, whether it's via email or you can reach out to us via social. We're definitely trying to answer everything we can. And the second question from Julie, do I have to have a solution like Cardiolog to analyze this kind of data in Power BI? So again, I want to make this differentiation that you do need to own this data set before you can start creating reports in Power BI. So either, whether you're using Cardiolog or whether you're using Google Analytics or whether you're using SharePoint Analytics, you will need to have, you can't actually create these reports without the data set in Cardiolog, in Power BI. Okay, and We are getting a lot of questions about how you are able to import this data set. So we can definitely send you guys, if you need much more kind of technical explanations as to how these data sets are integrated, we can definitely send you more in-depth answers. But Sigrid, maybe you can kind of just give a general idea of how the data sets are integrated into Power BI.
Sure. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to clarify this once more, that in order to have these Power BI reports, you first need to have Cardiolog Analytics installed and configured. And Cardiolog can be installed both on-premise or in the cloud. And then the implementation of Power BI can be based on the implementation you chose for Cardiolog. Now, Cardiolog Analytics tracks the information using its own tracking code based on JavaScript, so it's not based on SharePoint logs or IS logs. So first of all, the data we collect is based on our tracking agent, and the data is stored in a SQL database to start with. And then in order to integrate with Power BI, we build an additional cube on top of the raw data that we collect. And we build all of those dimensions and additional metrics that you can use in the Power BI user interface. What we've displayed today is the Power BI Cloud UI, but we also offer the option to use the BI components in SharePoint or in Excel. All of the different BI components can be used here, as long as you build this cube on top of the Cardiolog database. Okay, let's see some other technical questions that we have here. So for the question if we're consuming the data directly from SharePoint or not, so yes, we do track the data in SharePoint using our tracking code stored in our SQL database, which again can be on-premise or in the cloud. And on top of that, we have the level of the Power BI metrics. Let's see. Let's see what else. Okay, also a question about where the software lives. So like I said, Cardiolog can be installed on-premise or in the cloud. Let's see what else. Are the dashboards updated dynamically, or if it's a snapshot in time? So this is configurable. You can decide how often the data will be refreshed in Power BI. So you can decide to have it snapshot once a day or once an hour or even every minute, depending on your choice. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, a lot of questions about how we import the data. So like I said, the data is already tracked by Cardiolog, and on top of it, we have the level of the cube, which is displayed in Power BI. Okay. Okay, another question if you need both products. So yeah, again, the basic product is Cardiolog, and on top of it, you have the integration with Power BI. Okay, I think that's the questions I got.
Great. All right. So I guess that's all the time we have for today. Again, if you can visit us at intsloth.com if you have any questions, comments, and you can also download our Introduction to Internet Analytics ebook, which we